Let's take a look at the Naira. That's, one issue has really been on the front burner. The president has taken a stance and said he's backing, the central bank's move to not devalue the Naira. And in fact, it's no plan to devalue the Naira any further. What messages is sending to investors, not just domestic investors, but international investors as well?
I think it's important. It's also interesting to note that he made this statement outside the country. It's very important. I see what has been happening in monetary policy management. There's been this pressure, there's been the expectation. People have taken a bet that we're going to do further devaluation. So they're taking a bet. And then, all the calculations have not been coming out the way they've done it. And so they are waiting for this to happen. And if you look at the listing of Nigerian bond, from JP Morgan Index, it's all about that. All these issues about liquidity, you are talking about liquidity. Central Bank says, if you come with legitimate demands, we are ready to stand by. We are ready, to fund it. You're talking about transparency, talking about two-way quotes, and so on and so forth. Behind all that is the fact that the expected MFLA, the expected Central Bank, the expected Nigeria, throw up the Naira in the air and we start dancing, like a yo-yo. And it's not going to happen. And I'm pleased that for once, I think that the president has spoken. And I think that we know that Central Bank has the instrument autonomy. But I think this is one instance, I'm sure that a Central Bank, like Wilson did say earlier, where there'll be some sort of respite. Because I think that when you look at the valuation, this of us have been around for a while, and see to yourself, existential reality tells you that it's a no-go area. It's something you embrace when it is inevitable. I'm telling you. I mean, since the 80s, we've devalued. And once you devalue, you never get back to that value again. And then when you go back to life in the 80s, those of us have been around for a while. I have instances where in the 80s, people who got jobs and took a loan and paid back for a brand new car in 1 year. And I'm talking about facts. So that's true. And so there's deterioration everywhere.
So we need the Central Bank of Nigeria to help stimulate the economy and bring out good policies that will ensure. Okay. So let's talk about inflation.
Reflation. Okay, talk about inflation.
But let's talk about inflation first, and we get to reflation. Inflation rates have steadily climbed. As of July, it was flat; it didn't move. But last month, for August headline inflation, we saw it at 9.3%, and then we've seen GDP figures for the second quarter of the year slow down as well, from 3.9 to 2.35%. This should be another, some of the things that the MPC should take into consideration when they meet on Monday.
I'll just say about the core mandate of Central Bank is to maintain price stability. There's no doubt about it. So that whether this is happening or not, once you go into an MPC meeting, it's one of the things you have to put in the front burner and say what's happening to prices within the system. And then so if inflation has been reported by Bureau of Statistics, it's gone up and it's going up. And then so what you have to say to yourself is this, what is the underlying cause of this inflation? And then you find that there are increases, in prices, farm produces and so on and so forth. And so you say to yourself, what is driving, what is causing this increase? And now, is it excess liquidity, or is it factor of production, for instance? So what is causing it? And until you begin to identify closely what is the cause. Now, people talk about excess liquidity, and I don't know if we have inflation now, we'll be able to trace it to strictly excess liquidity in the system. I know that my friend Heriboyo comes and talks about the way the foreign money is monetized, the foreign exchange is monetized and is put into the system and so on. And I said that's best practice. I said that's best practice. And I said to him, if you know where it's done that way, cite it for us. I say that. So that's best practice. That's the only way you can do it. So you earn your foreign currency, and the central bank puts it in an account overseas, and then it monetizes it. You cannot issue dollar certificate because dollar is not illegal tender in this country. And so central bank cannot issue dollar certificate, which is what he has been preaching.
So when we have that in mind, and when we think about how this economy should be revamped, resuscitated, because with manufacturing percentage down about 0.5, 0.7%, it seems as if the manufacturing sector has actually gone into recession, and that is one sector that we know creates a lot of jobs. Do you think that this committee on Monday or on Tuesday when they make their announcement should be thinking about easing up on policies or further tightening on these policies?
You know, Harriet, I just say that with respect that I did a paper, I take a position, the president is also goes along with that, that we need to reflect. We need to reflect this economy. There's no two about it. Now, you cannot, we talk about, if you look at what's happening in the economy, you look at unemployment situation, and you look at the misery index, you know, within the system, you know, and you say to yourself, you cannot run the whole essence of an economy, managing an economy, is about the people. And so, if Barack Obama was on record, I've said a few days back, he says, if they ask him, you know, between when he came in and now, what's happened to the lives of Americans, you know, he's not prepared to answer that question. What he's saying, in fact, is that their lives is better. So, if managing the economy is about people, and about the level of comfort which they have, then we have to be very careful. We have to reflect this economy. And I take a stand that we need to reflect this economy. That means that MPC will have to come along. Now,
okay.
For instance, interest rates.
Let's take a quick break to catch our breath. We'll come back and then we'll talk about what the economy needs at this time. We'll be looking at the CBN and the economy in just a moment.